OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi everybody, it's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC Podcast, and welcome to our Monday Night Raw recap. I've just finished watching Raw, I have my notes, let's just jump straight into it. So Monday Night Raw started off with a video recap package from Money in the Bank, obviously showing all the different matches that occurred at Money in the Bank this year, talking about how great the premium live event was. And this is a really good way to show people who haven't had a chance to watch Money in the Bank, or for us to just relive what happened last weekend. So that was really cool to start off with. It obviously went through every single match. And there's a few moments during this episode of Monday Night Raw where they put a lot of emphasis on the bloodline. I will mention it when it comes up later on in the show. So we started off Monday Night Raw with Seth Rollins coming out. He makes his entrance. The crowd goes nuts, goes crazy for him. Definitely not as loud as the UK crowd though. He comes out, stands in the ring, puts his arms out. Everyone starts singing his song. He says, "Welcome to Monday Night Rollins. How sweet was Money in the Bank?" He references the fact that Roman Reigns has been pinned for the first time in 3.5 years by Jey Uso. He talks about how Miss Io Sky is now Ms. Money in the Bank, and obviously references that it's not his wife, but he's happy that it's Io. He talks about Damian Priest and calls him Senor Money in the Bank, and he references how he beat Finn Balor by the skin of his teeth. Mentions that SummerSlam is in 5 weeks, and he says he's got one thing on his mind. Cody Rhodes comes out. I was kind of confused when I first saw this, and I was like, why is Cody coming out? The entire time Cody Rhodes was walking out to the ring, the camera kept panning to Cody and then Seth, Cody, Seth. And Seth, I kid you not, every single time the camera came back to him, had not moved at all. He was standing with his microphone here or down by his side. He was looking as still as a statue. So Cody comes out, he stands on the ring apron and he tries to start talking to Seth. And then Brock Lesnar ends up coming out and he makes his return. I kind of wish Brock Lesnar had have returned at Money in the Bank and actually cost Cody Rhodes the match. I feel like that would have been a much better use of Brock Lesnar for him to get that massive standing ovation and pop at Money in the Bank in the UK instead of having him just come back for a random episode of Raw. I don't make the decisions, I just watch the episodes. But anyway, so basically they end up getting into a brawl. So Cody runs to Brock because Brock's coming out from Gorilla. Cody runs to Brock and they start getting in a brawl. Seth leaves the ring because he's like, I'm not going to be around while this is happening. Cody gets hit with an F5. He ends up hitting Brock Lesnar with a Cody cutter, and you can tell that Cody is ready for Brock Lesnar whenever Brock wants to come and find Cody. Seth gets back in the ring and he goes, that's a crazy way to kick off the show. They've clearly got some unfinished business here. And then he starts talking about who's next in line for his World Heavyweight Championship belt. And Judgment Day comes out, but we've only got 3 members of Judgment Day. So Finn Balor is currently absent from the episode of Monday Night Raw. There'll be some more details about that later, but at the moment, it's just Damian, Dom, and Rhea that come out. Rhea says, Seth, enough about you. We're taking over. Judgment Day's taking over. And then, obviously, Seth references the fact that, Finn Balor's not there. He's like, where is everybody? Because your entire faction's not here if you're meant to be taking over. Rhea says that Finn's fine. He's not here tonight, and that's not any of your concern. Damian then says, don't concern yourself with Judgment Day's business. The only thing that you should be concerned about is the fact that I have this briefcase. And he obviously talks about how he could cash in on Shinsuke Nakamura because he's going up against Shinsuke this week on Raw. And then he says once he does that, he could cash in on you and become the champion. But he said it in Spanish. I'm not going to try and say it because obviously I don't speak Spanish. Seth says that, well, that sounds well and good, but the champion has to be down and out to be able to be cashed in on. And he says, I'm not even on the card for tonight, so I'm just going to be partying in Baltimore instead. Damian says, I'll make sure that you're useless. You love a good fight. You're always one to give opportunities out and open challenges, so why aren't you going to do that? And you should have some of that same energy when you go up against Dominic tonight. Rhea says she's already defending her title tonight against Natalya, so she can't really do much else. And then the crowd starts booing Dominic, and Dominic tries to speak, but they're obviously booing him. And Seth's like, how about you try again? And then the crowd just continues to boo him, and he's getting the "you suck" chants, which is obviously what we get from Dominic Mysterio. Rhea says that Dirty Dom wants to fight you, and it has been made official that we will be getting Seth freaking Rollins up against, now they call him Dirty Dominic Mysterio. So it'll be Seth freaking Rollins going up against Dirty Dominic Mysterio tonight in the main event of Monday Night Raw. Then we had a video recap of the Bloodline Civil War match. Now this is obviously in reference to Roman Reigns being pinned for the first time in 3.5 years, obviously by Main Event J, baby. Then we end up seeing that SmackDown will be having a segment which is the Tribal Court. Now this will be the trial of the Tribal Chief. I'm super interested to see how this goes. I can't wait. It's going to be great. Then we have a match between Damian Priest and Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, they had no business making the match this good, especially for a Monday Night Raw. This was like a premium live event good match. Like, it was awesome. There were so many really good spots from Damian Priest. Shinsuke got a lot of time to shine, but ultimately it was Damian Priest that did come away with the win. Now, I do think if you are going to continue to build up Damian Priest as this really dominant force, now that he has money in the bank, he really needs to be just winning every single match that he's a part of. And then when he cashes in, it'll feel amazing. Then we had a video recap of the women's tag match that happened at Money in the Bank. Now, this is obviously to show that, Shayna Baszler's turned on Ronda Rousey, finally. Then we end up seeing Ronda Rousey walking out to the ring. She's got a bit of an attitude, not a good attitude. I mean, when does Ronda have a good attitude? So she comes out and she steps in the ring and she's holding the microphone, and before she gets a chance to say anything, Shayna Baszler comes out. Now, the first thing I noticed is that Shayna Baszler still has her old theme song missing. Where is it? It's not here. That's the problem. We need the old theme back. We really need her NXT theme back. This theme that we've got, which is like sample theme 04911 that you find on GarageBand, is not doing it for me anymore. I need the theme with the old riffs. I need to feel like Shayna is this badass, and I'm not getting the vibe from the theme. So, WWE, if you're listening, if you're watching, if you're subscribed to the Outcasted OC, firstly, get back to me about when this Australia Premium Live event / stadium show's happening so I can save up enough money to buy as much from your superstore as I can. But also, just give Shayna Baszler her old theme back. Because if you're going to turn Shayna into this badass again, this theme isn't cutting it for me. Anyway, I've spent too long talking about the music. Let's get into her promo. Now, this promo was, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great. So Shayna starts off by saying that she's pretty confident that she speaks for everybody when she says that we're sick of trying to hear you speak on the microphone. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh no, she did not come to play. And then Ronda goes ahead and she says, after 10 years of loyalty and friendship, why did you do this to me? Why does that mean, it doesn't mean anything anymore? And then Shayna was like, I owe you. And then she's like, you're such a narcissistic. And then obviously you could put a swear word in there, but that's what she said. And then she said that the only reason that you're in a WWE ring is because of me. And she says that she owes everyone an apology, basically, for bringing you into the business. And then Ronda says, well, if you've been holding this resentment in for years, why haven't you said anything? Why didn't you tell me? Instead of costing us those tag titles that we worked years for. And Shayna goes, we worked years for them? And then she says, where were you when I was building rings just to get a chance to wrestle in front of 30 people? I don't recall seeing you having to make an application to join WWE. I didn't see you at my tryout. Where were you? Look at me. Unlike you, I've paid my dues. I scratched and clawed for a chance to be here at the front door, to be able to work for WWE. Whereas you, Shayna was basically trying to say that she worked her way and she clawed her way into the position that she's in now, and she had to kick down the front door to get there, whereas Ronda Rousey just walked in the back door like she owns the key and went straight into WrestleMania. And Shayna says that she loves this. She loves wrestling, and you've ruined it for me. And then she'll finally get a chance to shut you up. And I was like, Shayna, where have you been? Where has this Shayna Baszler been? Oh my gosh. I was like, I was pleasantly surprised with the direction that they've taken this Shayna Baszler turn on Ronda Rousey. I think it's great. The fact that they're really obviously showing that Ronda Rousey's just been given everything and Shayna's worked for it. And Shayna, out of the two, is the better wrestler. I popped so hard at this. Then they end up brawling inside the ring, outside the ring, putting each other into different submission moves. And then the segment kind of ends there. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to see where they go from here. But yeah, like I said earlier, just give me Shayna Baszler's old theme back, please. Next up, we had Alpha Academy training backstage, quickly just getting some stretches in before their 6-man tag team match against the Viking Raiders and Valhalla. They were kind of talking about how excited they are for the match, and obviously it's Maxine Dupree's debut match, so they were obviously talking about that. Then we end up seeing that Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan were announced, obviously, by Samantha Irvin. She was in the ring saying, please welcome the Women's Tag Team Championship, championships. And then we end up finding out that we're having a number one contender turmoil match. So it's basically a gauntlet match with a whole bunch of teams, and it's basically to find who is going to be the number one contender for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Now, I'm quickly going to run you through this list, and I'm going to wait a little bit of time for you to tell me where the problem lies. Right, so you've got Chelsea Green, Sonya Deville, going up against Kaden and Katana. Cool, no problems here so far. Nikki Cross and Emma. Why? Then you have Tegan Nox and Dana Brooke. I'm happy for Tegan, but what are you doing with Dana? Dana was just in NXT a couple of weeks ago. Now you've brought her back. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. I'm so excited that Indy Hartwell's on the main roster. But the one thing I'm going to mention to you that I was extremely frustrated about, and I've already blown up the Outcasted group chat about this. Why did Indy Hartwell get this main roster debut match? She didn't even get a chance to show us her theme. Didn't even get a proper introduction on screen. None of that. When did she come into the match? When did she get introduced before the match started? In picture. So during the commercial break is when she made her entrance. She is the former NXT Women's Champion, and you treat her like that? Are you... I literally was like, are you joking? Former NXT Women's Champion, well respected in NXT. She was obviously seen as a locker room leader. You bring her up to the main roster. Sure, she's hurt, but this is her debut match in the main roster. And you bring her in when I can't actually physically see her on screen, and I find out that she was in picture-in-picture. I was so mad when I found out that this happened, because I was like, you literally have the best opportunity to capitalize off this woman. And this is what you do. So that's my rant over, but yes, I'm very annoyed that this is the way that they debuted her to the main roster. So we have this match, which is for their number one contender spot. Now, so they had two different groups, like two different tag teams in the ring, and basically they started, and then once someone pinned someone and they were eliminated, a new tag team came in. So the reason that we find out that Nikki Cross and Emma are a tag team is because Nikki Cross was trying to team with Candice LeRae backstage before the match started. And Candice was like, no, sorry, I already promised Indy. And then Emma comes in and was like, you asked the wrong Australian to be your tag team partner. I'm the first Australian-born WWE superstar. Let me tag team with you. Are you seeing the same problem that I'm seeing? Because it clearly shows there is no care for the women's division, let alone the women's tag team division. I don't like getting frustrated like this, but I'm just like, why even have these titles if you're just going to keep throwing random tag teams together? Now, Indy and Candice is not a random tag team, but they deserve better treatment than what they're getting. Kaden and Katana are probably one of the more established women's tag teams in the women's division. I won't have a bad thing to say about them because they're fantastic. And then Chelsea and Sonya are slowly growing on me, and they were a thrown together tag team. But do you see the problem that I'm trying to illustrate? Is that there's no care for actual tag teams, and this is why the women's tag team division is treated like a joke. Anyway, match was all good. I loved Candice and Indy in this match. They got eliminated way too soon, which I was really annoyed about. Then when they get eliminated, Nikki Cross is kind of paying too much attention to Candice LeRae, and is like, are you okay? Are you okay? Obviously not paying attention to Emma. Emma's in the match. She then gets eliminated because she can't tag in Nikki Cross to swap out with her. So then we're left with Kaden and Katana and Chelsea and Sonia. Now these two put on a good showing. I really love Kaden and Katana's teamwork. You know, their moveset leans very well to tag team wrestling, and I think that they will eventually be women's tag team champions. I'm really hoping that if that does happen, they actually do have well-established tag teams that can wrestle against them, but for now it doesn't seem like they do. Chelsea Green got a really good showing in this match as well too. I was really impressed with all the work that she put in. She ended up winning the match for the team, so she did her unpretty her finisher, and she and Sonia are now the new number one contenders for the Women's Tag Team Championships, well, you know, for the titles, which is great. Then they ended up having a quick face-off between Raquel and Liv Morgan, obviously at the end of the match. Then we had a video recap showing Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark's alliance in the Money in the Bank ladder match towards Becky Lynch. Obviously, in terms of the fact that they have issues with Becky, their alliance was on display at Money in the Bank. Becky Lynch came out and she cut a quick promo, and she was saying, you know, she didn't win at Money in the Bank and she can move on. But one thing that she can't move on is Trish Stratus. That squeaky voice. Trish, how about you just come out here and we wrestle right now? Just get this over and done with. Trish Stratus ends up coming out with Zoe Stark, and Trish is kind of looking down when she comes out. She's got her hat a bit low. She lifts her head up. She's wearing the iconic face mask that she wore, the one that has the protection here and then the protection along here. Obviously, because she ended up injuring her nose in some way, shape or form when it came to the Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, this was a really cool, iconic throwback. If you've seen it, you've seen the mask that she used to wear back in the day. And, you know, Becky was making a joke about it, and she said, you know, get a close-up of your stupid face, it's broken. Trish asks, do you think this is funny? Becky says, I do. I've broken your moneymaker, that's even funnier. And then, you know, Trish was like, very funny. Even in this mask, I'm still prettier than all of you. In fact, you don't need a mask to hide your ugly, or you need a mask to hide your ugliness is what I'm trying to say. I don't know why my notes are a little bit muddled, but that's fine. And then she ends up saying to Becky that she's actually not medically cleared to compete against her this week, which is a bummer, but I'd rather save it for SummerSlam. Then Becky says, well, how about you send your lapdog to fight me? You know, because obviously she's referenced the fact that Zoe Stark is kind of like a pit bull, so she says, well, why don't you get your lapdog to fight me? And Trish says, well, you don't want that, especially not after the dominance that Zoe Stark showed at Money in the Bank. Becky says that Becky says, well, she's better than your broken ass anyway, which I was like, oof, zinger, Bex, zinger. And Trish says, well, there's no one better than me. I'm the GOAT. I'm one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, you know, goes into that kind of spiel. Becky says that you can't beat me on your own. At Night of Champions, Zoe had to come and hit me with the Z360, and says that if Zoe wants to get better, she's going to have to come through me first. And, you know, she basically references that, you know, Trish says that she's the best, and, you know, Zoe may get to that point at some time, but she's obviously not there right now, which I think may be sowing some seeds of doubt into Zoe's head. And Becky says, well, you're not going to be here for that much longer. You're a part-timer Hall of Famer, so why are you here? What's going to happen to Zoe when you leave? Referencing, you know, are you going to put Zoe in your yoga studio and she can greet people as they come in? And, you know, basically references that, you know, part-time wrestlers aren't here all the time and they're only here for a short time. And Trish says that she's the face of the women's division, and the irony isn't lost in the fact that you beat my face and I'm the face of the women's division. And then we end up seeing that Zoe Stark will be going up against Becky Lynch next week. I'm super excited. I think this is going to be a really good match. Then we had a really strange interview segment where I think her name's Jackie Redmond. She now is one of the new backstage people for Monday Night Raw. I think Kathy Kelly's moved over to Friday Night SmackDown. Anyway, Cody Rhodes comes out for an interview. It's very presidential-like in terms of having an interview in front of the crowd. But Jackie basically just asks about Brock Lesnar and about the return. And, you know, Cody basically just says, well, welcome back, Brock Lesnar. We're not done here. We can't coexist, and I'll fight you anywhere, anytime. I'll fight you every day if I need to. Basically just letting him know that, you know, there's still unfinished business here. Then we had the 6-man tag team match between Alpha Academy, which obviously now has Maxine Dupree, and Viking Raiders with Valhalla. I really enjoyed this match. This match was fun. It was great. So many good spots. And Maxine, I am actually very impressed with her. She is a lot better in the ring than I anticipated. I was kind of expecting her just to only have one move that she could move back to, in terms of one move that she could do confidently. But no, she did a really good job. I am so impressed with her. Otis did the worm during the match, and then I saw he was kind of trying to set up Maxine to do the worm, and I was like, there's no way they're going to get Maxine Dupree to do the worm. Sure enough, Maxine Dupree did the worm, and I thought that was so funny. I loved it. Alpha Academy came away with the win, so Maxine ended up pinning Valhalla, which I was like, this is great. If you're going to give her the opportunity to have a debut match, you may as well let her win it. So I'm really hoping that Maxine gets to wrestle more with the Alpha Academy. I was so excited. And her gear, oh my god, she looked so stunning. I loved it. Then we had a video package quickly showing some of the moves that happened between Ricochet and Logan Paul from Money in the Bank. We end up seeing a snippet. I'm not too sure if it was shown online or if this is just something that was shot post the match that we were going to be seeing this week, but we saw a bit of a brawl between Ricochet and Logan Paul backstage at Money in the Bank. Now, Ricochet ends up getting interviewed and says like, hey, can you explain what that was about? We didn't see that there was any issues on screen, so why is this now an issue off screen? And Ricochet basically says that Logan Paul can hang with the best of us and he did a great job, but I don't respect him getting in my face and beating up on me like that. And he's basically challenged him to come to Monday Night Raw next week and says that he'll meet Logan Paul in the ring next week. So hopefully Logan Paul comes and they have a bit of a face-off. I was really hoping for Logan Paul versus LA Knight for SummerSlam, but if they're going to do Logan and Ricochet, I'm here for it. Then we had the much anticipated, long awaited, everyone's so excited for the Rhea Ripley Natalya match. So before this match, we end up seeing that Raquel and Liv are talking to Natalya backstage. Natalya kind of walks away from them and makes her way to the ring. Rhea comes out first and has her moment. She looks beautiful, fantastic. Mommy's always looking stunning. And then we end up seeing that Natalya's running out to the ring to chase after Rhea, starts beating up on her outside of the ring. I didn't get a chance to write down what was said, but she screamed something really weird out of the ring. If anyone caught that, please comment it down below because I'd love to know what it was. Then we had the match. Now, to be honest, this match was a little bit better than I expected. It wasn't just a 5-second squash match. Natalya actually got to do some wrestling in this match. It wasn't good by any means, but it did its job. It didn't really do anything in terms of changing my opinion on Rhea Ripley. I think Rhea Ripley's the most dominant woman in the division. The match didn't really affirm that. If anything, it kind of just reminded me of why I love her so much. Didn't really do anything in terms of showing me why I should care more about Natalya. I don't know. I honestly just feel like after the Indy Hartwell incident, I'm just in a really bad mood when it comes to Raw tonight. I feel like, Trips, you really screwed up that Indy Hartwell main roster debut. But anyway, at the end of the match, we end up seeing Rhea Ripley beating down on Natalya, so she's still going at her after the match, and we see Liv and Raquel running out to the ring to save Natalya, and we end up getting a second face-off between Rhea Ripley and Raquel, so we obviously know that that's going to be coming at some point in time. Then we get a video recap of the match that happened last week, or the match between The Miz and Tommaso Ciampa. Obviously, it didn't actually happen because it kind of got finished. Then we saw that Tommaso Ciampa had a promo. Now, this was aired online earlier in the day. I don't know why they didn't just put it as a promo, but that's totally fine. And he talks about The Miz being a coward, and he talks about all The Miz's accomplishments. And, The Miz has been experiencing loss after loss after loss. But finally, Tommaso's seen that spark that came back for The Miz, the look in his eyes. And he's asked, can you bring that chip on your shoulder next week when I fight you? Because you've got no idea what I'm holding in my hands. This was very reminiscent of old Tommaso Ciampa NXT promos. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but this was very reminiscent of that. Then we see that The Miz is, answering the promo. And he's basically saying, if you were talking cards in terms of like poker references, he's like, I'm an unbeatable royal flush. Next week, we're going to be having a no disqualification match. Bring the best version of you and I'll bring the best version of me. You've got to be putting some respect on my name when I beat you. And I'm like, cool, man. That's great. Can't wait to see it. Bloodline Civil War video recap. There was quite a lot of video recaps in this episode. I don't blame them. It was the premium live event in the weekend, but that's fine. We end up seeing that the Bloodline Civil War clips online have amassed a total of 40 million views over all social media. Now, people say that the Bloodline is a boring storyline. I mean, 40 million views doesn't scream boring. It screams that people are interested in what's going on. And normally I don't defend the Bloodline, but I think that's an awesome achievement to have 40 million views across all social medias in terms of your clips from the Bloodline Civil War. So that was really cool. I liked that they included that. I think it's obviously one of those moments in history that we're definitely going to be remembering for a long time. Then we had a quick match between Matt Riddle and Giovanni Vinci. Now, I don't necessarily remember if this was advertised. If it was, I've missed it, but that's fine. It was a very good match. Giovanni Vinci got a really good showing as well. It was quite quick, and Matt Riddle came away with the win. Then there was a part in the match where Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci start beating down on Matt Riddle. Drew McIntyre comes out to save Matt Riddle, and he claymores Ludwig Kaiser and hits Giovanni Vinci with a Glasgow kiss, which was quite cool. Ends up facing off against Gunther, and then he ends up kicking Giovanni Vinci with another claymore. So obviously we can see there's a little bit of an alliance forming there between Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre. I'd be interested to see how long that lasts if Drew does end up winning the Intercontinental Championship, considering that's kind of the championship that Matt Riddle's been chasing as of late, but I digress. Then we see Rhea Ripley walking backstage after her match with Natalya, and I popped so hard when I saw this. I appreciate the little Easter eggs, the little do you remember these moments. So she's walking around the corner and she runs into none other than Io Sky. I was like, dude! So Io looks at her and she says something to her in Japanese and she says, I'll see you around. And Rhea says, try me because it'll be the biggest mistake of your life. So I like that Io's teasing that she could cash in on either champion. I feel like she'll do the same for Asuka, but I'm excited. Then Dom and Damien come in and Dominic asks, have you heard from Finn? And Damien says, nah, not since Saturday. And Rhea Ripley says that, Liv and Raquel want to get involved in my business. If they do it again, they will definitely regret it. Then we had a video recap of the match for the World Heavyweight Championship between Finn Balor and Seth freaking Rollins from Money in the Bank. Then we had a backstage segment with Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle, and Matt was basically just saying, thank you so much for having my back. Imperium's been on my back for the last couple of weeks. They've been harassing me and targeting me. And Drew says, no worries, I can feel something on my shoulder. Turns around, he runs into Byron Saxton. He's like, hey Byron, how's it going? I'm back. And then obviously they're kind of talking about the fact that Drew McIntyre's back, and Matt Riddle says, how about we team up against Imperium next week? And there's like this random shouting from the crowd, and someone's like, take your top off. And then Drew McIntyre's like, you do know I can hear you saying like, please take your shirt off. But doesn't really talk about if they're going to team up next week, and they just end up saying, let's go to a bar and have some pints. So maybe we might be seeing them team up next week to go against Imperium. I'm not too sure. That will be awesome nonetheless. Then we have the main event, which is Seth Rollins going up against Dominic Mysterio. Now this was a good match. It was much better than I was anticipating. Dom got some good moves in. Seth obviously 5-star classics all the time. I can't say anything wrong about that man, apart from the fact that he's just got new side plates. And I've just got the visionary ones. So now I'm kind of feeling like I need to buy the new ones as well. But anyway, that's not really too much of an issue. The match was good. Rhea and Damien definitely did have some interference in this match. Not as much as they normally do, but there was a bit of interference. Then there was a point in the match where it kind of looked like it was coming to an end. It looked like it was going to end in Seth's favour, and Damian Priest ended up interfering in the match, costing the match to end in a no contest, or, just completely finish. Because it looked like Damian Priest was going to cash in. So basically Dominic got Seth to the point where Seth was kind of like useless at that point in terms of like couldn't help. And then they were basically Dom and Rhea were trying to like egg on Damien to cash in. He gets in the ring with his briefcase. Finn Balor runs out to the ring, hits Seth Rollins, which ends up knocking Damian Priest out of the ring, and Finn starts beating up on Seth. Seth ends up leaving the ring and Damien bumps into Finn and is like, what are you doing? I was going to cash in. If it wasn't for you, I'd be champion right now. And then Finn was like, well, if it wasn't for you last, at Money in the Bank, I would be champion. And so you can tell that there's a bit of tension forming between the two because, if one of them didn't interrupt, then someone else would have won. And if the other one didn't interrupt, then the other one would have won. So you can see a bit of tension forming between the two of them in terms of Judgment Day. Rhea was like, stop it, just sort it out, just leave it alone. And Dominic kind of didn't really do anything in terms of trying to fix the issues, but you can tell there's definitely some cracks forming in Judgment Day in terms of who's actually the top dog and, obviously all the issues that they've had with the World Heavyweight Championship. But that'll be very interesting to see how that unfolds itself. If you guys enjoyed the recap, please make sure that you like, comment and subscribe to the channel. We would really appreciate it. We will be having an NXT review dropping sometime this week, and we'll also be having a SmackDown review dropping. There will be no podcast this week due to scheduling conflicts, but we'll make sure that we're uploading recaps, and there'll be some shorts, I think, sprinkled across the YouTube channel from G and Ross at Money in the Bank. So if you guys are interested in any of those, make sure that you check out the channel and make sure you keep your eyes glued for any more YouTube shorts. If you want to follow us on all of our personal social medias, so our Instagrams and our TikTok, make sure that you go down to the description down below where you'll find all our links so you can follow our personal accounts while we're not posting on here. But yep, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.